Now, with power cuts part of everyday life, many people are turning to alternative solutions to cook and keep warm, but they could be putting themselves at risk. To speak more about the safety hazards, I'm joined by the Johannesburg Emergency Services spokesperson, Robert Mulaudzi. Mr. Mulaudzi, thank you so much for your time on the lead. So, as we experience power cuts, there are options that people go for to warm themselves, to cook, for some light, and sometimes that can lead to some dangers, fire incidents as well. Have you been responding to emergencies as a result of these frequent power cuts?
Yes, we have had a number of incidents which we had to respond to during this winter season. Of course, most of our residents are using all sorts of heating devices to try and warm themselves. So in the process, they are vulnerable to these kind of fire incidents.
Are you responding mostly to suburban areas, or is it more of your informal settlements?
Yes, lately since we've got load shedding, Clement, we're finding out that we are responding mostly into suburban areas because maybe our residents in those areas, they're not familiar in terms of using things like candles and the other heating devices. Mostly the only thing they know is to switch on that plug. So we're finding out that most of them, maybe they are using candles unsafely. So our message to them is that they must avoid using maybe a teacup as a candle holder, a cold drink bottle or a beer bottle as a candle holder. Instead, we're encouraging them to use a safer method of using a candle, of which they can just take an old coffee or a peanut, mayonnaise jar, a bottle, clean it up, fill it up with a little bit of sand inside, and then they cut that candle into half. So you stick that candle in, and then you can light your candle, and then your candle will be much more safer. And of course, it will take longer period of time because there won't be any wind which is going to be blowing it, in all directions. And also, the jar will make it much more brighter inside that room.
So I mean, these power cuts are here to stay for now. What other advice do you have? So you've given advice on how they can light up their homes in a safe manner. What other advice do you have for them? What do the people need to do to be careful when they are exploring these other options to survive these power cuts?
Yeah, so those who can afford, of course, we're encouraging them to get like your rechargeable light, which you can recharge when we have electricity, and when the power is off, you can be able to switch it on and you have a light. And those who are using, imbaula, we've got our residents out there who are using imbaula, who are using paraffin stoves. We're encouraging them to make sure that they just heat the area where they are, especially imbaula, and then just before they go to sleep, they need to take it out so that we can avoid incident of carbon monoxide inhalation, because in most of the cases you find out that they are unable to wake up in the morning due to the toxic fumes which are coming out of that imbaula. And of course, our residents who are using paraffin stoves, we're encouraging them to buy these paraffin stoves from reputable hardware stores, because we've seen that there's a lot of mushroom of people who are selling these kind of stoves on the streets. Most of these stoves are not regulated by the National Regulator for Compulsory Specifications, which is an organization in South Africa which regulates the safe use of these paraffin stoves. Most of these stoves, they normally explode while they're in use, and they can cause a fire incident at home. So we're encouraging our residents to go to these reputable stores to buy these stoves so that we can be able to prevent fire incidents which might be caused by these heating devices. And of course, our residents who are using gas heaters, and now that we've got load shedding, they might be tempted to go now and try out in terms of gas. They need to make sure that the heater, the cable from the cylinder to the heater is well connected, the regulator is working properly, and then there's no any leaks in between the cylinder and the heater, so that we can be able to prevent any fire incident. And of course, the heater, there mustn't be any movement of the heater while the heater is in use, so that we can be able to prevent fire incidents at home.